Hello, everybody. Welcome to Baking for Kids with Miss Jen. Hello. Welcome. Happy May the 4th. I have a special guest. Grogu is here, also known as Baby Yoda. My family, my entire family, are huge Star Wars lovers, so I'm very excited today to do a special edition May the 4th Baking for Kids Wookie's Cookies. So please bear with me. We're going to kind of go in a different order today than I usually would. I have some finished cookies that we're going to maybe start the decorating early. Then we're going to start the actual baking. I've got a couple stories to sprinkle in, so we're just going to get started and hopefully get the product of the Wookie Cookies at the end. Okay? So Grogu is going to sit over here. I'm going to have him be my assistant from a distance, because if you know him at all, he can be a little rambunctious. So want to make sure that he behaves himself. Okay, so ingredients first, and then we'll get started. You need a 13 by 9 pan. We are essentially making a bar cookie, so it's going to be in the shape of bars. You need, now here come our 7 layers. 1 stick of butter, that's layer 1. 1 entire sleeve of graham crackers, that's layer 2. 1 can of sweetened condensed milk, which is not the same as evaporated milk. This is in the baking aisle. It's very thick and caramely almost. So sweetened condensed milk, 1 14-ounce small can. That's layer 3. Layer 4, semi-sweet chocolate chips, any brand. Layer 5, butterscotch chips, any brand. Layer 6, some type of nut. These are optional, for sure. But if you like nuts and like the flavor, you can do pecan, you can do almond. These are pecan halves. And then layer 7, and to get the nice Wookie effect, you probably do want this, you want flaked coconut. So this is just sweetened coconut flakes, 1 package. Actually, we won't even use the whole package. We'll probably use maybe half the package, if that. But this coconut, when it browns in the oven, is going to create the Wookie fur effect when we create our Wookiees or our Chewbaccas. Okay, so there we go. In addition to that, you probably want maybe a butter knife. You probably want little kitchen scissors. And then to do the piping for the decoration, I just like to use, because it's cheaper and easier, Ziploc bags. So if it's a lot of frosting, I would use a quart. This is just going to be a little tiny bit of decoration. So I have one for white chocolate chips. And in the regular chocolate chips, I have 2 snack size Ziplocs. That's another thing I should mention. For the decorating, I do have some white chocolate chips. And then what else? And 1 gallon Ziploc for crushing our graham crackers. That's it. Okay, so I want to show you guys the ultimate goal just in case we don't get exactly the effect we were looking for. And this happens to be one of many cool Star Wars themed cookbooks that we have at the library. So this one is called the Padawan Cookbook, kid-friendly recipes from the Star Wars universe. So look at what we're trying to do here. We're going to make these. We're going to make these. So you can see our little Chewbacca friends. You get the gist. It doesn't look exactly like him, but we get the idea. So the coconut from our recipe is going to give us the brown kind of hairy effect of the Wookiee. So I have made some of these bars already. So I have a tray right here. And here's one of my attempts earlier to decorate. So what I'm going to do really quick so that the frosting, the chocolate can dry, is melt a little bit of chocolate. So I'm skipping ahead. And we will come back to this again in a little bit. But I want to let the chocolate set because to make his little belt that he wears, that Chewbacca wears, we need to put some semi-sweet chocolate down and let it harden and dry, and then we're going to pipe in just a little bit of white chocolate. So really quickly, and then we'll get started on the cookies themselves. I'm going to melt some dark chocolate and get that in the microwave, the semi-sweet, so that I can pipe that in for decoration. Okay, and actually I will multitask. While I'm doing that, step 1 for our bar cookies, that will be the base that you're going to decorate, is we need to cut up or melt this butter in this 13 by 9 pan. So I usually cut it into pieces, and then the oven should be at 350. and the butter will melt, and that's layer 1 of this 7-layer dessert bar that we're going to do. So I'm just going to take my 1 stick of butter, salted or unsalted, it does not matter. And I'm going to pop it in here and just kind of cut it up into sections a little bit. I find that it melts better that way. If you just put your 1 giant stick in the middle, it does not melt as quickly. And I happen to remember and take my butter out this morning, but if you don't, and it comes out of your fridge, then it's probably better for sure to break it up because the butter will be too cold and it'll be difficult to get it to melt. Okay, so I cut a bunch of butter tabs. That's going to go in my oven to melt for about 3 minutes. Okay, it does not take long. Let's see how the chocolate's doing. Okay, needs a little more time. Interesting fact too, when you go to decorate the bars later, the semi-sweet chocolate, like milk chocolate semi-sweet, melts pretty easily, stays melted pretty long. White chocolate is a different story. It's difficult to melt. You can almost melt it too much and then it does something called seizing where it becomes clumped and it really is hard to stir and it's not smooth. And even when you get the nice smooth white chocolate texture, it does harden pretty quickly. So it's very different than milk chocolate or semi-sweet or dark chocolate when you're working with them. Okay, so we've used the nuts already. I chopped them up already. So once the butter's melted and the chocolate's melted, we will go on. While we're waiting, we need to, the second layer on the 7-layer bars is the graham crackers. So you want to, again, this makes it easy. You're going to take your Ziploc bag, just rip open the entire sleeve of graham crackers. And we're going to dump those into the Ziploc. I'll show you in a second. So I think it's about 8 to 9, 9 full graham crackers in a sleeve. You're going to drop them into your Ziploc. Oh, there's my assistant. When you are working with kids especially, I think easy cleanup is the best option. Simple and easy, right? So the kids can even help you start. We want to crush these. We're going to have to crush them pretty small, but great fine motor practice, grown-ups, to let them kind of just grab it and start breaking it apart. And then I'm going to use, you can either use a rolling pin or a can to roll over the graham crackers because we want them in graham cracker crumbs. So I have my rolling pin handy. I will just use that, but you could totally use a can, and I've done that before here too. Okay. So I'm just rolling it out. I'm going to turn this a little so you guys can see a little better. Oh, and there's Grogu making a little cameo. Okay. From what I've seen on Star Wars 2, Grogu seems to really enjoy food, although he's more likely to eat like a frog or a fish or a bug. But I think even he would like the Wookie Cookies. Okay. So rolling out these graham crackers. Let me pause for a second and pull out the butter. We don't want the butter to overcook because it will, if it gets too hot, it'll kind of burn and that gives it a yucky taste. Okay. So it has turned to complete liquid. So I'm going to set it there for a second while I finish these graham cracker crumbs. Okay, so as you can see, these are total crumbs now. They look like sand or something like that. So these are good. So I have the butter in here. I'll bring you guys over for 1 second so you can see the liquid butter. Let's zoom in for a second. So we've got a ton of liquid butter in there. Okay. And I'm going to take the crumbs from the graham crackers and put them into the butter. And we're just going to kind of smooth them down and make a graham cracker crust, which is delicious, by the way. Okay, so I'm dumping them in. You don't have to be, you can just kind of dump them in and then move them around a little bit with a spoon. That's what I usually do. Let me grab it really quick, a couple of spoons. So I just have my regular metal spoon. And I'm just going to smooth this down to make an even layer for the crust. And then my microwave is reminding me that we have that melted chocolate. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. That's another thing I love about this recipe is nothing is too exact. And sometimes, many times with baking, I think I've told you guys, it is exact because you're talking about chemistry and reactions and things. But this is much less precise. You're just kind of estimating a lot of it. Okay. So, we have our crust. Let's see how our chocolate's doing. Okay, I'm going to show you guys. The chocolate has gotten very shiny. It's kind of hard to tell here. Let me see if I can get it. And when it gets glossy like that, that means that it's basically melted. So I'm going to stir it and I'll show you guys. So I've got melted chocolate now, which is what we want for the decorating. So I'm going to leave that for 1 second. And do one more layer. The next layer on the 7 layer bars that we're making. So we have butter, layer 1, graham cracker, layer 2. Now it's the sweetened condensed milk. So again, I'm just going to dribble this all over the graham cracker crust to kind of form another kind of caramely layer. So you're just going to drizzle it over it. And then I just kind of go back and forth. It will spread out because of the type of really thick liquid that it is, which is nice, makes it a little easier. So you just kind of keep going over it. And it's so thick, it takes a little while. You can see I'm really pouring it, but it just takes its time because it's very thick. Again, I don't have to fill in every spot, but if I see a patch of graham crackers that aren't covered yet, I'm just kind of letting it drop in there. And since I have, it's so thick, it will actually cling to the sides of the can. So you can use a spoon or a knife to kind of help it along a little bit. There we go. And so we've got 3 layers now. We've got the butter, we've got the graham crackers making that crust, and then we just added the sweetened condensed milk, the small can, which is 14 ounces. And that's going to be like the glue that holds all the other ingredients together. Okay, so we've got all that going. Now I think we're going to take a quick time out. And I want to frost one of these bars a little bit. So, frosting to make it look like Chewbacca. Kind of like Chewbacca, right? You guys saw my sample. So first thing I'm going to do is scoop the chocolate into my Ziploc bag. Grown-ups, the chocolate is not really hot. It's definitely warm, though. And, of course, when you took the 13 by 9 out of the oven, it is hot. So use your discretion of how much help. If you have little ones, for sure you want to do all that. Okay, so we've got a bunch of chocolate in my Ziploc bag. We're using this like a piping bag, which is like a bag to do frosting. So I'm going to cut the teeniest, tiniest hole in the corner here, just a little tiny angle to create essentially a tip for dispersing the frosting. Okay, but very, very small. Kind of like baking, it's easier to cut more, but if you cut too much, it'll come out too fast and it doesn't work very well. So I'm going to cut a teeny, teeny, tiny. Okay, so here is one of my bars. What I'm going to do is pipe on 2 eyes and the leather thing that Chewbacca has across his chest. So I'm going to set this down for a minute and I'll do it and then I'll show you guys. I did the eyes. Now I'm going to do the strap across his chest. That's thicker, so I'm going to go back and forth several times to create a nice thick belt. And then if your chocolate starts, you don't have enough, you just kind of feed it down to the corner where you got your hole, and then you just do a little more. And I'll show you in 1 second what I've done. His eyes are a little hard to tell because there's chocolate chips that you can see too. But I'll show you. Okay. Okay. So now we've got 2 eyes and we've got his leather belt. Okay, so eye, and his little leather belt. So we're going to let this dry now. That's why I wanted to do that right away, so that it can harden and dry, because then we're going to be putting, especially on top of the belt part, some white chocolate too, which I haven't even melted yet, because remember I said it melts. It's tough to melt. It does melt. You can go too far and then it dries quick again. So we want to just let that sit for a little bit, which means we can continue on with our 7th layer. Okay, so let me show you guys. Walk you over here, give you an idea. So here is the butter, the graham cracker, and the sweetened condensed milk, all situated over there. Okay, so next layer are the chips. Basically, you're going to just sprinkle a butterscotch, and then you're going to sprinkle the chocolate chips over it, like half and half, maybe roughly half a bag. If you don't like butterscotch, you could do all chocolate. If you prefer butterscotch, you could do more butterscotch and less chocolate. It's totally up to you. I just kind of like half and half. So from doing this previously a few times, I have some partial bags of butterscotch, so I'm going to start with that. And you really just literally kind of just sprinkle it, trying to kind of spread it around. Get some nice coverage. Okay. There's one partial bag, and I'm going to probably finish this one off too. Okay, so I'm just doing a little bit more of the butterscotch. Okay, so there's butterscotch. Let me show you. Actually, let's see if I can just pick this up and give you an idea. It's not hot enough. See, it cools pretty quick. So there you can see it sprinkled throughout. Now we're going to add our chocolate chip layer. And as I said, the sweetened condensed milk is so thick that those chips did not move. Nothing even slid at all. So you're really secure once you've got that situated. All right, now same process with the chocolate chips. Sprinkling all around. Okay, so that was not enough. And I knew that. Again, I had another partial bag. Does anyone have a favorite either Star Wars show, Star Wars movie? What, there's been 9 movies now? And then The Mandalorian and Boba. There's just so many. There's going to be a show about Ahsoka Tano. All right, I'm going to sprinkle some more chips. Get that situated. I'm going to put, sometimes if I'm going to try to get a specific spot, like in a corner, I'll drop them into my hand and then just kind of put them where they need to be. Okay. I'm going to show you guys. So now we have this gloriousness that is, what's that, 5 layers? So we have the butter. Everything's better with butter. We have the crushed graham crackers. That's the crust. And then we have the sweetened condensed milk. That's 3 layers. Butterscotch chips and chocolate chips. And you can see there's a lot on there. Okay, now normally what I would do is coconut and then nuts. But I really want that coconut on top. I discovered that after I tried doing this the first time. And if you've ever been to one of my STEAM programs, boys and girls, you know we do trial and error, right? Just like a scientist. We try something. We might like it. We don't love it. It's okay. So we just kind of adjust and try again. So we're going to do the nut layer next and then the coconut so that it'll brown up nicely in the oven. So I have just a bunch of, again, probably about a cup of nuts. That's up to you how much you want or don't want, or again, if there's a nut allergy, skip it completely. But I'm just sprinkling it around. Almost done. Again, my family really enjoys that. We don't, this is one of the allergies we happen to not have. So I'm able to use all different types of nuts in my baking. Okay. So now it's just layer upon layer. So that's layer number 6 is the nuts. And you can see it's harder and harder to see that sweetened condensed milk. Then the final layer, before we pop it in the oven to bake it, is this coconut. So again, this is sweetened coconut flakes because you want it to for it's a dessert. So I'm going to again just kind of shake. And this is the Wookie fur, so we want to be pretty liberal, meaning we want to put a lot on it and really kind of coat it. And the more we coat it and kind of cover it, looks like a layer of snow here, and we finally got good weather, then it'll look more and more like Wookie fur. Okay. Sometimes the coconut clumps together because it's very kind of sticky sweet. So it's all very loose, and there's all 7 layers. What I'm going to do really quick is pat it down. I've learned that when you do that, I mean, maybe not too much because I want the fur to kind of look like fur, but it helps it sit nicely and bake nicely. So I'm just using my clean bare hands and kind of situate everything and pat it down. And then it's going to go in the oven. It's about 20 minutes in the oven or so. That's going in. Okay. We're going to check it in 15 and see where we're at. Okay, so just to recap, take your 13 by 9 pan, take your 1 stick of butter, cut your butter into pieces, right? And set it in the oven for 3 minutes at 350. It's going to melt the butter. Then you pull it out because we don't want the butter to burn. You've crushed, in the meantime, 1 sleeve of graham crackers in a Ziploc bag. You can use a rolling pin, you can use a can. Kids can use their hands to practice gripping and grasping. Once the butter is out, you're gonna sprinkle the graham crackers over the butter evenly. That's your graham cracker crust. Then you're gonna take your can of sweetened condensed milk and gently pour it over the entire thing. So that's what butter, graham crackers, that's our 3 layers that are the base and the glue and crust that holds everything else together. Then it's up to you if it's 6 layers, 7 layers. You could do the 2 types of chips or 1, but you're gonna put chips next. I did pretty much a 50-50 mix of chocolate and butterscotch. And then if you can tolerate nuts, if there's no nut allergy, to do this recipe, I think this order is important. If you're gonna do nuts, do them next. And then the final layer is that sweetened flaked coconut. So butter, graham crackers, sweetened condensed milk, chips, chocolate and butterscotch, and then nuts, and then coconut. And then you pop it in the oven. Usually it's about 20 minutes, but I want to see if it's browning, and we could take a peek at it in a little bit. Okay, so let's see how my friend is doing here. Okay, so it's starting to harden, but it's still shiny. So we're going to leave him for a little bit, and I want to wash my hands and tell you guys about a couple things we've got going on at Gail Borden. And also, we've got some cute Star Wars stories. We've got a lot of Star Wars books at the library. We don't always have them in, but we can always put a hold on them for you, and we just have a lot of different cool ones to choose from. As you can see, it's not just stories, though. There's cookbooks, there's Star Wars craft books, there's character encyclopedias, there's even, I think, upstairs with the grown-ups, like adult, like cross-sections of the Millennium Falcon, if you like the ships and the engineering part. So there's just a lot of really cool options for Star Wars fans like me and you who love Grogu and Star Wars. Okay, so really quick, this is one book, though. This is a classic, right? This is A New Hope. And as you can see, we've got Leia, we've got Luke Skywalker and Han, R2-D2, C-3PO, and everybody's favorite Wookie, Chewbacca. So we're not going to read the whole thing. If you've seen the movie, you probably know the gist anyways. But it is neat to see how this all came about. So a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, there was a war raging as the Rebel Alliance tried to defeat the evil Galactic Empire. Led by the brave Princess Leia, a small team of rebels has just stolen secret plans for the Empire's ultimate weapon, the Death Star. It's a space station so powerful it can vaporize planets. But as the rebels try to escape, an Imperial Star Destroyer captures them. So this is the rebels and this is the Star Destroyer. Not good. Princess Leia hides the plans and a secret message in a small droid named R2-D2, right, everybody? And we've got R2-D2 and his friend C-3PO escaping in an escape pod. Meanwhile, this figure, who is this, you guys? Darth Vader. He wants the Death Star plans back. Meanwhile, in a totally different planet, where the droids landed, we have an orphan named Luke Skywalker who dreams of leaving his home and traveling into space on exciting adventures. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. But what we find out is that somebody named Obi-Wan Kenobi has been keeping an eye on Luke. And Luke gets into a bit of trouble and Obi-Wan helps him. He gives Luke a gift, right? It says Obi-Wan gives Luke a gift, his father's lightsaber, which is a powerful laser sword. And he says, I want to learn the ways of the Force and become a Jedi like my father. Well, to make this happen, they need a ship. So Luke, Obi-Wan, and the droids go to Mos Eisley, which is a spaceport, to find a spaceship to take them to Alderaan. They look for a pilot in this cantina, which has got kind of an interesting crowd, and Obi-Wan hires Han Solo, and guess who? Here's where we meet him, his Wookiee co-pilot, Chewbacca. Their ship, the Millennium Falcon, is fast enough to outrun Imperial Star Destroyers. It will be a dangerous trip, and Han needs money to pay a debt. to Jabba the Hutt. So he's willing to do it because he needs the money. So then I don't want to say much more, but Chewbacca is definitely part of it. He's going to be part of the escape. He's very brave and helpful. He's Han's best friend. And you'll have to tune in and find out what happens. So this is Star Wars A New Hope. And this is in the ELC section of Kid Space in the main library. Also, and I love this because Chewie gets his whole own book. We've got this book, Chewie and the Porgs. Not sure if you guys are familiar with the Porgs. They made their debut in, I believe, episode 8. And we're going to see how Chewie finds them. But Chewie finds them interesting. Here's the belt we're working on, right? And then we're doing the eyes and mouth, too, for Chewbacca. So this is Chewie and the Porg, written by Kevin Shinnick. Oh, boy. Chewie and the Porgs. I don't know what to make of his expression. So that's Chewie, and all these little animals are the Porgs. Ooh, okay. My favorite part of the Star Wars thing. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, there was a planet so distant and so mysterious, it was said to have been hidden among the stars. The planet is called Ahch-To. And on this planet stands the very first Jedi Temple. Wow, look at how beautiful it is. This island in the middle of all the water. Not many know of this existence, mostly just the caretakers, and now you guys, of course. The only other being with knowledge of this mystical place is the man who crossed a galaxy to find it. Luke Skywalker, last of the Jedi Knights. But this is not his story. Because whose story is it, you guys? It's Chewbacca's, right? So one day on the planet, the little Porg are hanging out, and all of a sudden, you hear this super loud. The Millennium Falcon has arrived. And remember, the Millennium Falcon was the ship that Han and Chewie used to pilot, right? And the little Porgs are going, eep, 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 eep. They're running away because the ship is huge. That's pretty scary for them. One of the beings who exits the ship is covered in fur and unlike anything the Porgs have seen before. The young girl tells the furry one to stay with the ship. The Porgs overhear her refer to him as Chewie. They wonder if this means he is her food. They hope so, for they are very hungry, and he appears to be bite-sized. Oh my gosh. You guys, if you know Star Wars at all, Chewbacca is not bite-sized, right? But I think the Porg is standing very far away. We call that perspective. So it looks small, but wait till they see him up close and personal. But the Porg know this is going to take some investigating. So they leave the ship, and look at this, you guys. Luckily for the Porg, they're good at camouflage. So they look like rocks because Chewie's going to go look around. Oh gosh. All of a sudden they kind of circle him, but he does not like that. And he says, and he yells and he scares the Porg and they all go flying and running away. So they kind of remind me of birds. They don't really have a beak, but what do you guys think? They have wings. They have like webbed feet. I feel like they kind of seem like birds. One Porg isn't afraid of a Wookiee's roar. Grumble, grumble. But he is afraid of a Wookiee's grumbling stomach. Ooh, here's a little known fact, you guys. This says, Wookiee fun fact number 17. Wookiees are always hungry. But poor Chewbacca has nothing to eat. Oh, no. So he's kind of going to go on a search for food. First, he wants to try to maybe track some down and look around. He creates a trap, but look what he catches, the Porg, and he doesn't even want the Porg. Then he tries to fish. That doesn't go well either. While Chewie is away, the Porgs decide to do a little exploring of their own. Uh-oh, they're going on the Millennium Falcon. So Chewie comes back to the ship and finds, oh my gosh, it's a Porg party. Look at this. They're like, keep, 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 keep. And then you got R2D2 going beeper, beeper, because he can't believe it either. They've been invaded by porgs. Cheep, cheep, cheep. It's a porg party. Oh my gosh. Again, Chewie is not happy about that. He has had enough. So he goes, and he yells, and he scares them off, and they go, beep, 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 beep. Well, luckily, Chewie finds some blue puff cubes, which to me looks suspiciously like blue marshmallows. He decides to roast them over the fire. He looks around, makes sure the coast is clear when he gets ready to eat. Wookie fun fact number 77. Nothing tastes better than warm, toasted blue puffs. Cubes. Uh-oh. You guys, what are the porg been up to? Chewbacca is not going to be happy about this. So he discovers that they have taken his blue puffs. Upon investigating, though, he realizes that his ship landed on their area where they eat. So Chewie's going to lead them away. He finds another spot for them. And now that he understands everything going on, he feels better. And look at this. It says, Wookie fun fact number 1. This is the most important fact. Wookiees have hearts of gold. Wow, look at how tall he is. And he's got all the porgs who are now his friends around him. Going, cheep, 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 right? So then that's not quite the end, but you have to tune in. You have to come and find this. It's Chewie and the Porgs, a Star Wars novel by Kevin Shinnick. And like I said, we have this and many others available at KidSpace at Yale Borden and at our Raco and South Elton branches. Okay, a few other things. We've got about 3 minutes left for the bars, the 7-layer bars that are in the oven, the Wookie Cookies. We're in May. We made it to May, you guys, right? May the 4th, like I said. So that means summer reading is quickly approaching. You should be able to start logging your summer reading minutes May 15th. So that's just about a week and a half away, something like that. So I know you guys are great readers. We see you at the library all the time. So if you're out there, you might as well read. There is an app for your phone. It's free. It's on Android or the Apple Store. It's called Bean Stack, like a stack of things, BEANSTACK. And that is how you can log in and you can log your minutes. You can just do it on your phone. Now, we do have paper logs that will be coming. Some of you might have gotten them in the newsletter, the latest newsletter. So you can definitely do it that way, too, if you want to color and track your minutes that way. We've got some really fun, cool prizes, but you have to check out the log or come into the library to find out. If you've never done summer reading before, you can register yourselves online once it's open, or we're happy to help you. My friends and I at KidSpace, you can come in, talk to us. We'll get on the computers and show you how to register so that you'll be all set for summer reading. And also, I know school will be coming to an end soon. You can already be on the lookout for May and June programs. The registration is open now. And pretty soon, in a little while, July and August will open up. But right now, we've got May and June. So these are all things to be on the lookout for as far as the Gale Borden Library. Okay, let me see if the chocolate is dry enough for me to try the white chocolate for decorating. Okay, so it's still a little shiny, but I'm going to try, because why not? So I'm going to melt the white chocolate chips. I have a bunch of them in a container, so let me melt those so that we can add the white accents to the bar. I usually do, when I melt chocolate, do it anywhere, it depends how much chocolate. Starting at maybe 30 to 45 seconds, and you check it. It takes a while, then you do another 30 seconds, and you just kind of keep checking and keeping an eye on it until it gets, like I said, shiny. Usually then it's ready. If you stir it, it will melt because the heat transfers and melts it from a solid to more of a liquid. So, and then I'm also going to check the bars to see if our 7-layer bars are brown enough to show you guys, because those are ultimately, once they cool, what you would cut into rectangles, right, and make into the Wookie cookies. So let me see. My timer's about to go off. Okay, not quite yet. We're going to do a few more minutes. Okay, let's see how the white chocolate's doing. Not quite yet. depending what container you use to warm it to, be careful because that ramekin was pretty warm. I'm going to use my oven mitt next time, and I don't want anyone to get burned. So, or use a microwave oven safe container. So what I'm going to do once it's ready is we're going to spoon that into this bag, and same idea, very tiny little cut, a little snip in the corner with my scissors, and then we will pipe that on. I think they're maybe wanting to melt. Let me check. You can always run the spoon in it a little bit. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to hold this carefully, but it is melting. So I'm going to stir, and you'll see it just kind of suddenly goes from kind of those chips to more of a frosting look to it. Okay, so again, you can see, right, it's drizzling. So it's definitely cooperating, so we'll see how long it cooperates. So don't snip the corner until you have all the frosting you need in the bag, right? So let me just slide this over a little bit. Put this out of the way. How are you feeling about everything, Grogu? He seems pretty happy so far, you guys. Although he probably wants a Grogu cookie of some sort, or pastry, right? Maybe we'll do that next year. Okay, so I'm going to spoon the white chocolate into the Ziploc. Again, you probably won't need a lot, but of course, if you cut these into, a bunch of rectangles, you'll be doing this over and over again. That's definitely enough to do 1 or 2 bars. So I'm trying to gather it all in the corner, and then just a teeny tiny little cut in the corner here. Because let's look at the cookbook for reference. I want to show you guys. Okay. So we've got the 2 eyes. I'm going to do a little dot for nose. So this mouth is kind of a tiny up and down, and then these are like little white accents. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do, is the mouth and these accents. And again, the coconut as it browns will look like the Wookie fur. Okay, so let's see here. And since we're talking about very, very small cookies here, you don't want a very big spot for piping, because it'll be too gloppy, like the frosting will just come out too fast and it'll be tough. I'm going to do this one. And as we saw in the book, Chewbacca does like to be grumpy. So. And you just kind of gently squeeze a little line. I'll show you guys what I'm doing. So I'm just gonna, just gonna use my bag and just squeeze a tiny little bit, lift, tiny little bit, lift, and do 1 more row. There we go. So we've got the little grumpy mouth. We've got his little leather thing. Like I said, the eyes aren't showing up real well because of the chocolate chips, but I think in the batch we just put in the oven, you'll see it better because it's going to be all coconut on the top, so there won't be any chocolate chips peeking through. And there won't be any nuts peeking through. It's going to be mainly that coconut, which as it browns should turn a really pretty, like brownish, light brown, brownish color, which will look more like his curly fur. So let me see here. Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm going to show you guys. This is very, very, very hot, boys and girls. So definitely this is time for the grown-ups to do this. You can see how my coconut has brown, right? So picture, that looks like his fur, and you don't really see any of the chips So I think it would turn out really well as far as the decorating. However, we have run out of time. So I think you have the gist. I know I did that a little bit out of order. So you are not. You're going to just make the bars, right? One more time. Butter, graham cracker, sweetened condensed milk, chocolate chip, butterscotch chip, nuts, if you're going to use them, and then coconut. I did them at 350 for about 20 minutes so that coconut gets nice and brown. It smells so good in here. It smells like suntan lotion. Or like my friend Miss Carrie's got a scavenger hunt going at Gail Borden at the main branch, and the prize is a smelly sticker, coconut. So, and she also has a Baby Yoda craft over there, like a project you can do. So once we have that done, we're going to let them cool. But then separately, you all see what I did. You're going to take your bars. You're going to cut them into rectangles, right? You're going to make 2 eyes and a little nose. You're going to, and the chocolate, we're going to start with the chocolate. So the 2 eyes, the nose, and the sash. Let it cool. And we probably let it cool for maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You'll know. It'll get hard. You'll be able to tell. And then once that's done, you can melt your white chocolate. Be very patient with it. Take your time. Use the bags. Cut a teeny tiny little corner. Make his little grumpy, growling face. And do the little white trim on his sash. And you're all set. So thank you so much. One more time just so you get the gist. There we go. I know there's a glare a little bit. So you can see this is the Padawan cookbook. I hope you enjoyed the stories. Happy May the 4th, everybody. It's beautiful outside, so go dream of your intergalactic adventures. We'll see you soon. Thanks. Bye.